if you're only going to watch this show for the next minute or two, I want to give you some advice if you live in the cities. If you live in the cities, get out. Get out of the cities. Do not be there. Take your stuff, everything valuable that you can, and get out of the city.
And would you say that is all cities, Democratic cities?
Thanks for that clarification. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to, what is this? Episode number 10. Holy smokes. It's been a bit. We're about to get you guys all caught up on that.
On life?
On life and the craziness that is our life.
What's new?
Yeah, what's new? So if you haven't heard, dun, 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 moving back to Virginia. Yes, we are insane, but...
we are the definition of insanity, I think.
Yes.
Yep.
We...
One of these days we will learn. One of these days.
Yeah, well, I just think that, you try to do things and either you work out or they don't, and some things are out of your control, and those are left up to God. And we found out that God did not want us in Maine. That's basically what it came down to, because he did everything in his power to make it impossible for us to stay in Maine or to almost even to get here.
To get here.
Yeah, it was, I'm one of those guys, you'll hear Christians say it all the time, knock on doors and God will open and close doors. But when you're a SEAL, right, and you tend to breach doors that...
You say, I'm going through that door.
Yeah, you kick open doors that they try to close in your face, and you try to make it happen, and holy smokes, it can be a little troubling. So anyways, we're heading back to Virginia in 2 weeks.
Yeah, week and a half.
Yeah. So for all of our friends in Virginia, we can't wait to see you again. And it'd be great to see you on our move-in day.
Yeah.
When our tractor trailer pulls up, and hopefully it's not just me and Lauren unloading that thing this time. It would really be awesome if...
we'll stop and pick up some beer.
Yeah, we'll have beer, pizza,
A nice little housewarming unpacking party.
Yeah, it'd be great to see you. We missed you guys. Coming back. So anyways, we're excited to be coming back. We're really looking forward to it.
We are sad to leave the connections that we have here.
Yeah.
There was a lot of talking in circles when the opportunity to explore going back kind of came up when the contract fell through on the house, and it was, the feeling of being here for the church and everything that we've established here in Bangor is very hard to leave. So we will certainly miss those friendships and my family and all that. But ultimately, we think it's the right thing. But
yeah, well,
it'll be good to be home and settled.
Choice. Right. I mean, we're going into the holiday season. Obviously, everything just got on a really crazy timeline with COVID pushing the selling and buying season for houses later. But here we are. It's October, and traditionally not a lot of houses sell in November and December. We're having an extremely rough financial year, and as business owners, banks, when they're lending, want your last 2 years of financials. So basically it came down to rather than renting for 3 years, we decided that we were going to go back to our home, make it work there, and that's all good. It's all good. There comes a time when you did what you could, you went there. We'll never have to ask ourselves, what if now?
Yeah. And I think it's the the silver linings and the what can we learn from it aspect. And this is something that I think everybody in some way or another can benefit from these lessons on appreciate what you have.
Yeah.
You know, it's so easy to focus on what you believe that God hasn't given you or what you think that you want or deserve. And there's so many blessings in front of you the entire time. And it's just, you need to focus on those and you'll be amazed at what God has given you.
Yeah.
And so we're going back with, a fresh perspective on the house and the business opportunities and family and friends there. And we're really excited to, we're going back to the same house, but in a way it's completely fresh. It's a new start for us. And we're really looking forward to that.
Yeah. We got new fresh paint everywhere. We got new floors. We got new carpet. It's going to be cool to go back in there. And I am going to high five and hug every inch of that house and that property because I miss it. I miss being able to blast in my backyard. I miss my mountain view. I miss my stream with my 7 or 13 or whatever, how many step waterfall we have. I miss it all. And we're going back right before we shouldn't have any hot days left in Virginia.
We're leaving Maine fall, which is great, and we're going to
Right
Virginia.
into
Where is
Virginia
timing this?
fall,
And we did
right.
this to come here. We left Virginia spring, which is great, and came for Maine spring, which is
yeah,
after Maine spring. We missed the backlash.
So, do we want to talk about the truth about Maine, or do we want to just dive into the news first?
That's like a whole segment in itself, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So, a lot of people look at Maine in some very rose-colored glasses, right? Lauren used to look at Maine through rose-colored.
I think when you grew up here, live here, this is what you know. You don't question it. You know that you are hardy stock.
Yeah.
And it is what it is, and you're proud of it. And then you leave, and then you come back, and it's cold, and there's bugs.
There's bugs whoa. I've been a lot of places in this world, including, the jungles of Colombia, Southeast Asia, Iraq, all over Europe, and I've never seen any bugs like Maine has bugs. The bugs here are, like I said, the mosquitoes, they don't go down with one swat. If you just graze them, they survive, And
Hence why he went out and bought the bug assault gun.
Oh yeah. If you guys have seen that shotgun,
he can't shoot his actual
salt.
gun in the city, so he went out and bought something
Yeah.
that he could shoot bugs with.
So yeah, I went out and I bought this this fly shotgun, and it shoots table salt. Man, is it awesome! I should have it up here since we're talking about it. Really cool stuff. But just Maine is a great place. If I was going to advise anyone, and you don't like hot temperatures, I would come in August, September, and October, and then never come back before then. Forget about it the rest of the time unless you want to do a ski trip in New Hampshire, right? Because they've got real mountains in New Hampshire. There's a lot of them. They're really pretty. So Maine for August, September and October.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even Lauren's October's a little bit too cold.
No, I was going to say August was a little too hot still.
Okay.
It was starting to change.
I just, July was a really bad month for heat here. Again, it was abnormally warm, as people said, and all that stuff, and no one's got AC here. But anyways, let's dive into what
Focus on the blessings.
Focus on the blessings. Can't wait to see all of our friends. We're super pumped. So now let's get into the news and current events and the riots that are coming. So one, if you're only going to watch this show for the next minute or two, I want to give you some advice if you live in the cities. If you live in the cities, get out. Get out of the cities. Do not be there. Take your stuff, everything valuable that you can, and get out of the city.
And would you say that
around the
is
election.
all cities, Democratic cities?
Thanks for that clarification. Mainly, it's going to be Democrat-controlled cities because they're not going to let their police department do their jobs. But I do think even some Republican cities are going to burn, particularly if Trump wins the election. And then those police departments will stomp it out with the National Guard and everything else. But, if you're in a town that has been rioting or has the potential or has a lot of idiots that marching around the streets, screaming and shouting, breaking windows and stealing stuff and using any time they lose their temper, they want to go loot now. You've got an entire class of people now, right? And a massive amount of people who anytime they don't get their way, they think they can go loot. And it's pretty bad. I mean, we had a black cop who shot a black guy who was justified. A grand jury investigated it the whole way through, didn't bring charges. So what do? They go riot, loot. And,
reparations.
Yeah, and then they're now taking it into suburban homes. So for every one of you guys who knows somebody who's voting Democrat, this stuff is coming to your neighborhood too. And it's not staying in the cities. Super, suburbanite Democrats who don't think the problem, you can just vote this way and there's no consequences. Well, they're not going to care about your BLM sign when they throw a brick through your window. And I hope your kids aren't in the living room when that happens. Yeah. Right? I mean, that's what we're seeing now happen.
Well, in that case with the McCloskeys,
yeah,
is an interesting, it's going to set the precedent and it's not going the way that we'd want it to right now. Because they're moving forward with charging them for defending their property and brandishing their firearms at the mob that was in front of their house threatening them.
I mean, those charges are going to get dropped.
Right, but that certainly will make people hesitate to do the same thing if they feel that it's necessary if people are coming in their neighborhoods. So it's something that you want to understand what your local laws will allow you to do or protect you in doing.
Yeah, and what we just saw in Michigan with the militia group that was trying to kidnap
Gretchen Whitmer.
I called this weeks ago, and I said, the war is not going to be like the North and South with heavy equipment and tanks and when massive militaries fighting each other. It's going to be more personal, and it's going to be what I call low intensity, which that big armies fighting each other is high intensity conflict.
Yep.
Right? That's planes and helicopters and tanks and artillery. It's not going to be that. It's going to be, I believe it'll be assassinations, hits, abductions, things like that. And then it'll be attacks on our infrastructure to make people uncomfortable. Attacking the power grid and things like that to, make an entire city uncomfortable. I think it'll be carjackings, and it's going to be more of, and unfortunately, I hope it doesn't turn into explosives. But they were looking at explosives. I think they were looking at detonating bridges and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't read up on all of the details that have come out from it, but it sounds like a crazy plot that they had, that they had spent time and they were practicing for it, and it wasn't just like a couple crazies in their basement. This was like a whole thing. You wonder if there are any other plans going on out there.
It wouldn't be surprising to me. I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of people out there planning things right now. I discourage that. I really hope that they don't do that. I really hope that they try to let the system work itself out. But unfortunately, people are losing their patience.
Yeah. And of course it's coming back, and they, this is Trump's fault. So I think, not that we would encourage it anyways, but for people who are considering trying to take things in their own hands against democratic government that's just going crazy on control stuff like this, you have to think about the repercussions that might impact Trump, the election, people's perception of the Republican Party, because that, whether you mean for it to be or not, that's going to be fallout, because people are going to look at that and say, that's crazy, Yeah,
well, the thing is, this was not Trump, right?
Of course
this
not.
Wasn't even close to Trump. This was something totally different. This was, sorry, I'm messing around with Facebook settings here. I guess I changed the password somewhere and some crazy stuff is going on. So, anyways, these guys are anarchists. They had anarchist flags. They're targeting police. They're doing all that. Police are Trump's base.
Yeah.
So this was Antifa more than anything.
I mean, it's a mixed bag. They went for a very Democrat governor.
Right.
And that I think was the motivation with the law enforcement
too, and they weren't
right.
that.
And so it's you can't have it both ways. But when you look at the whole picture, that it was the governor, obviously, because she's like the prominent person that they were saying.
Right.
That is who people are focusing on as what their motivations were. But there really were these kind of hits also planned on the law enforcement side of it, which confuses the motivations or
Right.
which party is at fault. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what other information comes out about it in the next few days. Thankfully, they were caught because it sounds like it was going to be a whole mess.
Yeah, they wanted 200 people. I saw something. They were looking to get 200 people to do this, and that's 200 armed people to do something like this with explosives and everything else. That's some pretty hardcore stuff, and I'm glad they broke that up. But again, it doesn't surprise me when you have the media doing the things that they're doing right now. When you have Joe Biden's former intern as the mediator of the second debate, when you have the mediator of the
moderator,
the moderator of the third or the vice president's debate is writing a glowing book about Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I thought. I would say Wallace came out much more in the bag than I would say Susan Page or whatever her name was. I thought
I thought she did a better job, but it wasn't.
The questions were clearly written more one-sided versus equal.
It was all they were again all ambush questions. Defend yourself.
Yes.
And it's all layup questions to the other side, right? And it's just like
not that either of them
then we found out today that Durham. The report is not coming out till after the elections.
Yeah.
People are just starting to feel like it's an unfair system and that the deck is stacked against them. And I don't think they're going to take it forever.
We get fed enough that people will think that, they're taking action or there's hope. Just enough to satiate the public.
Yeah.
And they're never going to, whenever these reports come through and it's like, people are going to drop and all this, it's like, I'm not going to hold my breath on that one. They always fall short on it. It always fades away. No matter who's in charge, it always is going to fade away. So I don't think anything's really going to come from these reports.
Well, I got to believe that if Trump wins, he's going to push pedal to the metal because everyone was trying to run out the clock. And that's what you saw, right? The Russia collusion, the Ukraine, the multiple impeachments, every drama thing they've done has been to slow things down because they know they're dirty as hell. Obama's going to get caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Obama, guess what? If Obama's burned, so's Biden. You think they kept secrets? Right? Which is what's so disgraceful about this investigation because it would disqualify Biden right now. Instead, we're going to have somebody who weaponized the CIA and the FBI against a political opponent. There is nothing worse. Nothing worse.
Yeah.
Social media is totally in the bag for the left.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Like, I can't even believe the stuff that they put stickers over and they don't chat. Like, it's all... Every one of their mistakes is on the right. Like when they censor Tucker Carlson and he blows them up on the air, and then they say, we made a mistake. Yeah. They're not making those mistakes with CNN, MSNBC, or whatever. No, they do blanket things, and I don't have the power to call them on their stuff.
Right.
I'm not Tucker Carlson. But if they can do that to him, imagine what they can do to all of us as normal people.
Well, they do. They do already. So, yeah.
It's just so disgusting and it's just so bad, and then, the VP debate, holy smokes, the VP debate. Mike Pence took a sledgehammer to the Queen of Phony's face.
Yes. I think it was really interesting that, like, generally across the board, the consensus immediately after was that the debate wouldn't have moved the needle at all. You know, both sides did well enough, and that the polls would kind of remain the same. And I don't know if it's that they weren't wanting people to, like, okay, the professionals are saying it wouldn't, you know, change anything, so I'll just believe it. You know, why? Because it certainly seemed like Pence did a well enough job compared to her, and really outing a lot of the stuff on their ticket, that you would see some change in the needle.
I think you do. I think that the whole evangelical movement that votes for Trump because he's pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, pro-religious freedom, is basically, they follow Pence.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, they follow Trump, but Pence is their morality beacon. If he can be there, then we can back.
Yeah.
And Pence was so damn powerful, man. I couldn't wait to have that guy as my president. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he's going to be able to survive a second Trump term, meaning like doing 8 years as the VP and then becoming the president is a tough thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But man, that guy was smooth. I mean, he smacked her down without even being like mean about it.
But he was mansplaining.
Oh my God, that whole thing. Like, Lauren, you're the reformed feminist. You want to
No,
talk
I was
about,
never. Don't ever put me in that camp.
You want to talk about this where she's strong enough to run for the leader of the free world.
Dumb. What I thought was actually refreshing, surprisingly refreshing. You see, I mean, that tells you right there what the left thought came out of that, which is that they realized that Pence did better, because that's all they were able to fall back on, talking about the fly on his head and that he was mansplaining to her. And George Stephanopoulos on ABC, you know, threw that out there as a question, clearly thinking he was going to get support for it. And multiple women panelists on both sides came back and said, no, you know, don't give them that out. And I thought that was good, that women were put aside politics enough to say, you know, come on, at some point you have to say she's a vice presidential candidate. Don't even give her that excuse.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool, because, you know, Martha Raddatz, who's very, very left, very Democrat, she came out and was like, that's not didn't
like
happen.
if you're going to be bullied by Mike Pence, you got no business running for anything in the world.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how are you going to handle Vladimir Putin? How are you going to handle, you know, communist China? How are you going to handle dictators? How are you going to handle if you can't handle one of the nicest guys on the planet?
Well, and I think that there was a funny comment kind of about, you know, she kind of overreacted to the few times that he mildly interrupted and was like, please, you know, I'm talking, you know,
so bad.
And they're like, they clearly prepped her with that response, with it being a bigger, more obnoxious interruption, that response would have been like, I'm checking you. But he did it in such a mild manner way that it was so dramatic. And like completely out of place. I did think that Pence, you know, you were talking about kind of the evangelicals and the pro-life crowd being that base, and where he really needed to kind of rally, or that he has, and just giving them support back on that. I think that he missed two questions, that he took the opportunity to talk about something else, or like go back and finish a thought on the previous thing. And one of the biggest ones was about the Supreme Court and the pro-life question of, if Roe v. Wade is overturned, and you were still, I think it was governor of Indiana, would you recommend that state, you know, ban all abortions? And that was his chance to talk about, you know, a pro-life stance, right, or, you know, or what, however he would answer that, and he didn't answer it at all.
He came back later. Again, I think he had, in that part right there, he used that time, and I may be mistaken, so forgive me, but I think that's when she was attacking President Trump for insulting dead troops and all that stuff. And he's like, I can't, like... I'll
have to go back. I think that he used it to talk more about the Supreme Court and Amy Coney Barrett as the pick.
I
would have to look, but
one of those that he did that I think was a brilliant move, and he had to do that. You can't let her get out there and throw that crap around.
Agreed. Yeah, but I think that would be, going back in, that pro-life is such a big movement for the right, and he didn't answer it in a way that I felt satisfied. With it being a legitimate question, I thought. And the other one that I thought that it would have been good for him to have a true soundbite on as an answer was the healthcare pre-existing conditions one. He again chose to talk about something else, which probably was a valid thing to talk about in itself, but that being a huge voting issue, and Kamala making such a big deal about them getting rid of pre-existing conditions, and which I don't believe to be true, was his chance to refute it and come out and just smack that down as being a talking point for them.
Yeah, I completely agree. And again, when Republicans talk about healthcare, they're terrible talking about it. Trump's been trying to put together a plan forever. They were getting together to have a plan together. We were this close to repealing Obamacare. We were one vote away. And if you're wondering why Trump hates John McCain, and why just about every other freedom-loving American loves or dislikes John McCain, is because he was so bitter and he hated Trump so much that he voted on his deathbed to screw Trump over and the American people over and keep Obamacare, which he had campaigned against for 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years. Whatever the heck it was. It's at least 8. Since he got in office. McCain had been against that, and he was during the lead up to that because everyone knew that Obama was going to do that. So I think it's safe to say that. And then here we are in Trump's administration. He's a deciding vote, and he votes to keep it. And that's why we call him a traitor. That's why, Trump doesn't hate him, why Trump hates the guy.
Yeah.
And that's why all the McCains are back in Democrat. Imagine that. And a Democrat party that is going to destroy America by packing the court, packing the Senate, and just totally driving us all to a civil war. Because if they do those two things, there's no way conservative Americans are going to sit behind. There's no way the veterans are going to sit behind and let that happen. People will rise up. It will be terrible, and it's going to be their own fault. And it's going to be the traitor never Trumpers that do that, because they can't get over a guy's personality. Grow up. This is beyond a dude being brash or obnoxious. Look how the man governs. The guy's one of the best governing presidents in history. Look at his policies. I vote on policy. I don't want him dating my daughter. I don't want him running my church. But he's damn good at running countries. I'll tell you that. So anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that you've been concerned that he's going to get his feathers ruffled by all the praise that Pence is getting.
That.
And it has been interesting. I know that there was a suggestion in the media that Pence step in on Trump's behalf for the next debate, which I don't think that he'd be allowed to do. But I think a lot of people would be like, okay, great. Pence is here because he's
a way
so much
better debater than Trump.
And also comments, and I think it was actually from, I can't remember his name, but he's someone within the Trump campaign, like one of the advisor or the guy running it, saying that for the very first time, the Biden Harris ticket was made to, have to stand by their claims, or they were called to account on it, completely dismissing, saying that Trump has been totally ineffective at it, because which I thought was an interesting, coming from the Trump campaign, was an interesting way to frame it, because it completely put down any of Trump's efforts at that.
Yeah, well, one of the things that is one of Trump's ego is his strength and his weakness, right? I want to explain that. When I decided to start voting for Trump, it was because of his ego that I voted for him. Here is a guy who's a billionaire who's done everything he could ever want to do. He literally had power, everything. There's not a lot of check marks on there. And I knew, because he is so vain, what he wanted. He wanted legacy. Buildings, they can take your name off of buildings. he wanted to be written into history as a great president. He wanted to be the next head on Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why I was betting on him to put himself second and put everything else second, because that's how he wanted to be remembered. That is a powerful thing. He's not Obama, who went in not having a lot of money and comes out a millionaire.
Yeah.
Right? He's not like all these other corrupt politicians who are going to come out way richer when the math doesn't add up, people. Right? You can't become a millionaire off of these small things, off of the salaries that you get in Congress and the Senate and everything else. Not to the scale that they are. They do it through insider trading and a bunch of other dirty kickbacks that they all get. Yeah. So I was counting on his ego, but then when Pence did so good, I could see him stepping on that message. And, you know, and maybe, you know, I don't think Pence is one of the most loyal, good dudes on the planet. I don't think that someone could drive a wedge between him and Trump. But I worried in the back of my mind that, man, if Pence looks too good, Trump's going to get insecure. I honestly thought that. I mean, I said it to you. Yeah.
I mean, he's not someone, like, you can see some people that are playing the game. Yeah. And you know that they're, you know, even if they are coming out in support, they're positioning themselves, or that they would flip if the wind blew. Yeah. You don't get that feeling from Pence. You feel like that he's truly passionate about the causes that the Trump administration is pushing. So you have to hope.
He's legitimately the best wingman in the history of the world. And he doesn't, like, he's not one of those guys who can, like, he would have been a great president in his own right. I don't think he would have done what Trump has done. And what do I mean?
He's not as ballsy as Trump
He's not as ballsy as Trump, and he's still I believe him to be. Now, maybe he's changed watching Trump, but I still think he would have got up there and tried to do all the same old tired Republican ideas.
Yeah, probably.
Right? I mean, that's what's great about Trump, is he doesn't just do tired Republican ideas. He'll do something that no one's ever thought of before. And what would be like, what are we going to lose? If the Democrat doesn't work, the Republican, let's try this. Yep. Like, let's actually put, you know, our embassy in Jerusalem and see what happens in the Middle East. Oh, peace breaks out.
Well, I thought that was an interesting part of the debate where Kamala was trying to talk about kind of what the Biden administration would do, or how you have to handle world leaders, and you know, be a friend to your friends. You know, the people who are your enemies, hold them, you know, in check or whatever. And it's like, don't they have a history of not being friends to our friends? You know, the whole Israel stuff.
And it's they've screwed over Israel.
Obama administration just totally dropped them.
Turned their back on Egypt, and when during the Arab Spring, you know, so
it sounds good to say, you just have to be friends to your friends, but
just fund the world, just give give Iran, you know, $1 billion in cash and pallets, because that works. I mean, the thing that's disgusting is Trump would win all 50 states if the media was honest.
Well, there you go. That's why they're not.
But I'm just saying, like, if they literally get up there and just gave the facts and reported accurately and exposed the left for what they are, I honestly believe they would probably win even California and even Massachusetts.
And
that's saying something.
I don't know much. I don't follow everything that they pass, or, you know, initiatives that they have. I know that Pence mentioned kind of when the climate change and, you know, stuff that they have done for the environment, and that never ever gets airtime. And that's one of the biggest things that they're hit on, are, you know, whenever they do anything about oil or fracking and stuff that damages the environment or has the potential to. And that's what gets airtime. But you know, the stuff that they are doing for national parks and water and air and all that stuff that is good, and they really are making big strides in that. I don't know much about it, and I watch all of the channels that would play it, you know, if there's something there. But so to your point, if they gave the stuff that he did actual airtime, a lot of those arguments would just go away.
Yeah, you know, here's something I think going forward, and again, I don't know if we'll ever even need to have an election if the Democrats win. I think that it'll be so rigged that it'll be impossible for them to win, particularly with the media. That the debate forums need to change. It really just needs to be, we're going to talk about, you know, we're going to stay, you know, in this this area, like today is going to be foreign policy or whatever, and you just let them go, right? Or you sit there and say, the things that are hot right now, we're going to do a free and open debate. You know, I'll start with first question, you know, and then if, you know, I'll ask questions as they go from there on. Prod them and just let them go. No time limits. Let them go.
I think there would have to be some effort at the equal time kind of management, but I do agree that the forced windows for topics and done moving on, especially we know that there's topics that people care about more than others. We didn't need 9 different topics.
No, I mean, that was like right now we really just need to know a few things. We need to get Biden and Harris on the record saying they're going to pack the Supreme Court and pack the Senate. We need to get them on record. You know, I found it laughable that both of them are all of a sudden pro-fracking.
Yeah.
Like, where the hell did that come from?
Yeah.
She co-authored the Green New Deal.
Yeah,
which bans
she
everything.
was I mean, clearly her like uncomfortable laugh when he was like, "You supported or you author," you know, she did her like
That's
scoff
her tell.
laugh.
That's her tell. That's
you
her
know,
tell when
of
she's
trying to
lying and
dismiss it.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, which I mean, I haven't polled the left. You know, you'd think that dismissal and distancing would certainly. Has like AOC come out with anything, or are they being told to keep quiet?
They today all the freaks that are the AOC clan got together and released something that showed how they were going to pull Biden to the left, like their demands or whatever. If I know that AOC's kind of come out, you know, still riding the Bernie train, and I know that they're all being told, you know, get in line with Biden. But if anyone's come out in expressions of disappointment at the Biden-Harris statement, they would never risk that. You know, they're disciplined. Right, they are pretty disciplined.
AOC
right
has
now.
come out still.
She has in the past, but I don't. Right now, there's too much at stake. They all know if Trump wins, the swamp is getting drained. Like it's done. Like that's why literally everything is coming against them. The freaking debate commission, which is a joke.
Yeah.
All the media, including Fox News, has failed us, man. Like. I just can't believe that, you know, like Chris Wallace has destroyed any hope of him ever being, you know, slightly left, raving liberal. Today, he was still bashing Trump. I watched him on the news bashing Trump.
I mean, I think for him to try to dig out from the perception that he got, you know, after that debate, he has to go all in on that it's Trump's fault that whole thing went terrible.
Well, this was a totally different topic. And he's still ripping into Trump the whole way. And it's like, so now you're a Democrat, outed Democrat operative. And it's just absolutely disgusting. You know, I've been seeing people ripping Fox and asking where to go. Newsmax is really good. One America News is really good. I still think that Fox and Friends in the morning is solid. I think Bill Hemmer is solid as a reporter. I don't know how Hemmer votes. You know, I do not know how he votes. I do not know how Brett Baer votes. You know, that's their news division, kind of. I mean, Sandra Smith is the other one, but I don't like her. You know, but I think Bill Hemmer, Brett Baer, Martha McCollum, I would say, is a Republican.
Yes.
I would say that obviously Tucker. I would say,
and then the groups, the middle afternoon panels and the 5 and
the 5 is interesting. I don't know. Dana Perino, I'm not sure. I mean, she's a swamp creature from the Bush family. Right, she worked for them. I like her a lot. I mean, she's
I would
very
certainly
polished.
have gotten the vibes that she's.
I think
Trump.
she's Republican, but how can someone who is? I mean, the Bushes are all supporting. Literally every Bush has endorsed Biden. If that doesn't tell you that they're freaking corrupt pieces of garbage, I don't know what.
You supported Bush too, though, so that doesn't mean that people, I mean, who are not Bush family, but people who supported the Republican administration at that time can certainly have evolved. Certainly when seeing the alternatives to say, okay.
That's fair. I mean, I know that she has genuine affection for George W. Bush. I think he was a very likable guy. It broke my heart when they turned their back on America and supported Obama and supported Hillary and supported Biden.
Yeah.
I mean, I just couldn't fathom that.
I've never seen anything from Dana in what I've seen that it was like,
She
who are you
does
voting
call
for?
balls and strikes. She's very fair in that manner. I actually got upset at Ainsley this morning. Ainsley was defending Chris Wallace yet again, and there's no defending him.
Yeah, well, is that what I told you about, or did she do it
did it
again?
again.
Did it again? Yeah, I mean, she's just she wants everyone to be friends, and and so I don't know. I was wondering if they were whispering in her ear that okay, someone called Wallace out by name, which typically they've been doing the moderator.
Yeah.
And if they've been kind of advised if someone says something, you guys have to come out and defend them. But I don't think that means Ainsley is a Democrat. I just think that she's so warm and bubbly that she just wants everyone to love each other.
Yeah, I would say Steve Ducey is good to go. I would also say Brian Kilmeade is a Republican, even though he's a city boy Republican. And I'm a city boy. I was a reformed city boy. He's never probably even had mud on his feet. He's the sports guy. That's his background. And he was like, whatever. But I mean, I don't think he's. I would love to see him like in the woods. He would look so. But again, I think they're legitimate. I think that they have not betrayed the cause. I do think that the rest have.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
I haven't found. I mean,
the majority of Fox is still good, is my point.
But yeah, you can clearly see it shifting.
Yeah.
So I think that we'll see kind of how it carries over past the election. Definitely worth checking out those other news outlets. I haven't gravitated towards anything that I've seen
Newsmax
I've
been enjoying. We can't get OAN here. That's the problem. We can in Virginia. It's on DirecTV. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, for those of you who are trying to live this tactical lifestyle, and, we take things for granted on what people might be thinking. So, when we were getting ready to move, I had two choices. I had to either one, wait till after the election to see how things were going to go, or I had to get there in front of the election before the world lost its mind. And that's because driving from Maine, and from Maine to Virginia, there's New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, or Pennsylvania, DC, Baltimore, right? And I can take my family. We go the western route, meaning we go out typically out the back end of Massachusetts.
Although Apocalypse driving was fantastic.
Yeah, Apocalypse driving was
we
great.
got from there to here in like 9 hours.
Went through New York City, didn't even touch our brakes. But now, with all the civil unrest and with anything that could go on, we're pretty much taking, 80 or 90 to 87, 84, 81, all the way in and avoiding all those big towns. The closest thing we come through is like Scranton.
Yeah.
Because what are the odds of BLM or some hate group blocking the streets, of any time around or post-election or whatever, and all of our stuff in the tractor trailer gets looted? They're doing it to Amazon trucks. They're doing it everywhere else. Why wouldn't they do it with our gear?
Yeah.
I wanted to get somewhere and I wanted to be settled for when stuff hits the fan, which if Trump wins, it will hit the fan. If Trump loses, it will.
Well, and there's almost
be bad,
guaranteed
but it's
to
going to
be
hit.
this time where there's who knows who won, and I'm sure there's going to be mass chaos.
Right, they found 50,000 ballots. Wrong ballots were sent out in Ohio, in the largest district in Ohio. 50,000 incorrect ballots. I mean, again, I don't trust the Post Service to do this. They're overwhelmed. I'm sorry. I don't trust myself with 50,000 ballots.
Right.
They'd be 50,000 Trump ballots at the end of the day. I mean, if I could save America, I know I do. That's why I'm not doing it.
And then was it California? There was a whole bunch of ballots that were sent out that didn't even have the presidential nominees on the ticket. So it's
it's ridiculous, man. It's so incompetent, and, so anyways, you got to consider these types of things when you're doing big moves with your family and when you're traveling, right? You got to avoid, like right now, traveling with a, not even 18-month-old baby. I wouldn't drive through a major metropolitan city unless I had to. Particularly not Baltimore, particularly not Philadelphia, particularly not DC, particularly not all the places where the crazies are. LA, Oakland, Portland. You just can't trust it anymore. And that's a sad thing, that you can't travel out of your country anymore and feel safe.
Yeah, I think that we're making the right call by being settled back home before the election. Certainly feels like the right thing. It's obviously bumped our timeline up. That's why we're scrambling. We made this decision, and we're packing. But it feels right versus still being here and then going back.
And that's just to wrap up the point. You really have to pay attention. Part of your situational awareness is being aware of national, right, news story, global, national, and local news, right? So as we get closer to traveling, I'm going to start Googling and looking at things along the route to make sure that there isn't trouble.
Yeah.
That Joe Biden is not visiting Scranton.
Yes.
When we're going through there. We'll have to swing around it.
More like Trump.
Trump.
Yeah, I would feel much safer going where a Biden rally was.
He was in Trump the time that we were there.
Scranton. Trump was in Scranton.
Trump was in Scranton.
You said he was in Trump.
Oh, sorry. Trump was in Scranton.
Yeah.
When we went by there, and we had no effect on us.
Yeah, we kind of ride it around.
Yeah, the 81 swings pretty wide on that. But, you got to keep those things in mind. And then, have your bear spray in your vehicle. Make sure that you set your firearms up so that they are legally traveling. We have safes that we travel with to make sure that that's all set. Because the last thing you want to do is go to one of these gun trap states like New Jersey or one of the other ones where they literally just want to rack up gun cases against anyone who happens to be unfortunate enough to drive through.
Yeah.
So, just having all that, having your food, having your first aid kit, having things that you can go to the bathroom in. If BLM locks down a freeway and you're there for 4 hours, you better be able to go pee or whatever. This is where
guys have it easy, man.
Guys have it easy. Girls can do it too.
Take Gatorade bottle.
Wide mouth Gatorade bottles. You can do a lot with a wide mouth Gatorade bottle. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't know. I think B's got it made with the diapers. I might go that route.
Yeah, she's a smart one. I love her fart noises, by the way.
Oh, my Lord. Guys, he's teaching our daughter to be a heathen because he didn't get a son. So let's just turn the daughter into a fart making. So she knows now if she goes toot, she turns around and looks at us and goes, every time without fail. She'll point to her diaper and go,
it's awesome.
It's so bad.
It's so good.
It's cute now. It's not going to be cute.
Tell her what happened at the restaurant. Tell them what happened at the
man.
restaurant.
Yeah, so some night we were out to eat and I was walking her down the hall because she was bored. And, she had her little dress on, a little sweater, and she was carrying a bite of bread. So, cute. And some guy was like, oh, and was like, hi. And she turns around at him and goes, I was like, he didn't, I laughed. He didn't laugh. You could tell he was a little appalled at this child who clearly has been taught this.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Strangers trying to talk to my daughter. She should be like, it's great.
It's so bad.
It's great. So, and she's going to be much happier in Virginia as well. It's too damn cold up here. Let me just say it. Our pit bull is already miserable.
Yeah.
Odin, I gotta take that name from him because we
don't have to get him a tactical sweater anymore.
Yeah.
Although he might still want one. And
he's not gonna be wearing a tactical sweater. He's not gonna be wearing.
No. Sorry, tactical jacket.
No, it's not.
Because he can't have a sweater.
No, he's not gonna have a sweater.
It was a tactical jacket.
He's not. He can wear a harness to carry his own gear, and that
happens to have a whole jacket attached to it. He's like the wimpiest. Like he hates weather changes. He wants it like his 70s and sunny.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. So what was next on the list?
Covered most of it other than the LAPD shooting.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw this terrible LAPD scene where you have another out-of-shape cop getting his butt kicked by a crazy who should have been shot way beforehand. But again, this is what happens when the police are persecuted. Cops are afraid to use their tools. So this crazy guy pulls right up in his car right in front of the police station on the sidewalk, comes in, gets into a verbal altercation with this overweight black cop. They get into a fight. He knocks the black guy down. They both go down. They're fighting. They're rolling around a little bit. He gets the cop's gun, beats him with it a few times, and then runs out the door. And a female cop comes out. And as she's running towards the guy, finally the cop on the ground says, "Oh, he's got my gun." And then you hear the gunshot.
Well, and I was reading, I believe, so he had pistol whipped this cop. And then he, I believe, discharged the cop's gun and trying to shoot him, missed all of them, and then a different cop fired at him after that, and I believe.
Well, the video looked like he was down, the guy ran away, and then a female cop came this way, and I think he was shooting at the female cop because she was between him and the other guy.
So there was some confusion in the beginning, because there was this notice, cop in this. People thought that the cop whose gun was taken had been shot because he was taken to the hospital, and people. He
was taken to the hospital because he couldn't fight to save his life.
Well, he had injuries from being pistol whipped, which is why. But people thought that he had been shot, but he was not. Fortunately,
yeah,
but
he was already on the ground, and then he got pistol whipped.
Yeah,
it was. Again, I don't expect cops to be black belts. I don't expect them to be. Golden gloves boxers. I don't have to do that. That's why they have that belt on. But when they are being oppressed and charged, like hunted down by the media and by liberal politicians, you're gonna start seeing a lot of cops die and a lot of bad things happen because they're afraid to use their gear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you feel? I haven't watched the video yet. Did you feel like did it seem like he was being restrained in how he was managing the situation?
The guy punched him and he was still backing up.
Okay. So that it seemed that he might have been...
it seemed like...
should have used more force.
He should have used his pepper spray, his taser, anything else, unless he was one of those guys who didn't have any of that stuff because he was... I mean, let's face it, the sick, lame, and lazy are usually put on the front desk.
Yeah.
Right? Now, he could be legitimately being injured.
Mm-hmm.
He could be on light duty. And that's why he's there. But if he's on light duty, he shouldn't have a firearm because he can't defend himself to use it.
Yeah, I mean, the headlines were certainly bad, as far as...
Yeah. So...
someone comes in, manages to get the cop's gun, and then beats him with it.
It's... but, I mean, that happens. I mean, part of the Boston Police Academy that we go through, the OC day, the pepper spray day, they make you run around, get winded. Then they run right up to you and they spray you directly in the face with a pepper spray. Mm-hmm. And then you got to run down, the steps to this area where there is 4 to 6 people, depending on how physical you are, in red man suits. Mm-hmm. And you have to not lose your gun, call for help while you're getting your butt kicked by these people in the red man suits. And if they get your gun, you're out of the academy.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
Right?
I'm guessing you had all 6 people.
Yes.
And I'm guessing you crushed it.
I did. I had a good time with that.
Yeah.
And, but a lot of other people didn't, right? And pepper spray works different on different people, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah. The thing is you have to be able to retain your weapon. right? That's one other thing that makes Kyle Rittenhouse such a stud on what he did is he was slung in, right? So he had that gun on a sling, which a lot of people don't. And the benefit of that is if someone grabs it and pulls it, it's not coming off you.
Yeah.
But someone tried to take his gun from him, and luckily he had that and was able to maintain control of it. And that's why he ended up falling, I think, because they pulled on that on his
Harness.
on the sling, and then he's down the ground, and the first guy that came up tried to grab his rifle, and it didn't come back, and then that's when he smoked that dude's bicep. And again, let's talk about something else right now. Let's talk about cancel culture.
Mm-hmm.
So we experienced our first cancel culture as a company, our other company, Trident Shield. We had a big webinar set up that we were very excited for. Worked on custom content for it.
If people aren't as familiar with that endeavor, if you guys are new supporters of Patriot Crusader, so Trident Shields works with organizations on like the workplace violence emergency preparedness side of this.
Yeah, risk management. And so we were putting out a webinar called The Coming Storm. And when we met with this company, we should have known to run away because they said The Coming Storm was too intimidating of a title.
Mm-hmm.
So we changed it to like some 40-word title. And here we are. We go through it with them, earlier in the week, through every slide. We show them all the videos, all that stuff. It's all good. 2.5 hours before we go live with 213 companies around the country, they cancel.
Mm-hmm.
They canceled it because a liberal on their staff didn't like that on one of the slides, it said the BLM and Antifa riots. Yeah. And that's why they did it. And so they canceled on us, and that hurt. And I think that is a shame that some liberal turd out there put their politics before their clients' well-being.
Mm-hmm.
Never mind, this person had never seen the webinar. They just didn't like 2 words on a slide.
And I think that the timing and that they wouldn't speak with us directly, we would have changed the wording on that.
Yeah.
And they did not give it a chance to come to any kind of compromise or comfortable understanding about what the whole feel of the presentation was going to be. So they just skipped all that and canceled the whole thing. Yeah. And they received some disappointment from people who wanted to get that information. So, which shows you that people did find it valuable anyways.
So, so basically what happened there, let me explain what happened there. They put their politics before the well-being of their customers. And we're starting to see more and more of this, especially with these giant companies. Mm. You've got these Fortune 500 companies who donate to BLM, right, as bribe money or extortion money. Mm-hmm. Hey, we'll donate to you or to the Pink Pussy Hat group or whatever, right? So you guys don't protest our company, mm-hmm. right? So they give them hush money, basically. Mm-hmm. They're extorting them. And then they didn't want to risk pissing them off, and they didn't want us to educate 213 CEOs, risk managers, and people of what the true risk is out there. So what we do on this podcast that you're seeing right now, we're actually doing that in our professional lives now and cutting through all the media, because unfortunately there are some dumb people in risk management who watch CNN for news and think that they're going to tell them what's going on in this world, mm-hmm. right? As a risk manager, you have to check your politics at the door. Mm-hmm. I have to watch news programs that I don't agree with. I have to dig through the cesspool of the media and find out what the truth is so I can make an educated decision to advise my clients to make the on how to be safe. Mm-hmm. And too many people don't do that. And these big companies are coming into conflict. They have a conflict of interest because they are not looking out for their clients' best interest. They're looking out for their own best interest because they don't want to piss off BLM or Antifa.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. Even if they weren't inserting their own personal political beliefs, which seemed to be the case with this instance. But say they weren't, but still they saw that we named organizations that were clearly on one side of this versus the other, and they were watching out for their own backs as far as liability, because they didn't want people who are their clients to be exposed to information that might ruffle feathers, and that would then come back with their name having been attached to the presentation, because people are so freaking litigious these days that they will come and sue or cry foul over anything generally from the left. So they just don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole at the detriment of really understanding what's going on.
So it basically comes to the point where if you get too big, you're compromised, right? You're compromised, and you're going to be afraid of somebody boycotting you for this, that, or the other thing. So
I mean, I don't know how much size has to do with it. It's more of, I mean, companies of yes, that's true. But companies of any size are going to want to protect their operations, their bottom line. We walk the line with that, with Trident Shield, as far as what can we say, what shouldn't we say to, not ruffle feathers with our clients. So, I mean, we get it. We get it from the business perspective.
A lot of late night arguments here because I want to be a true speaker.
I understand. I mean, we see how many businesses have the mob come after them because the owner or the CEO has personal opinions, and on their own time they came out, or they donated money to the wrong campaign or any of that, and they get blasted. Yep. And so there's that line of being able to speak your truth, but also making sure that you have doors to open the next day and money to pay your employees. And so it's a hard line to walk. It's sad that you have to. So I understand wanting to kind of run away from potential liability as much as possible. It's just incredibly unfortunate. Right. It's not the right field to be in if, you have to be able to look at it that way too. But it sucks. I mean, the whole thing sucks. You can understand why people would be scared of it, even if it's the truth.
Right. If you can't identify evils in the world and speak freely about them to the people who are paying you to keep them safe, then you're in the wrong line of work. Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate, and it sucks that we got to walk that line, but that's where we're at in the world today, because the media has failed us all. It has failed us all. You have propaganda arms, and maybe it's always been this way, and we just never realized it because we didn't have social media to point out the hypocrisy. But I'll tell you right now, it is absolutely disgusting.
It's not been this way. People wouldn't go to the lengths that they do now to ruin someone's entire livelihood because they found out that they voted for the other party. Yeah. It wouldn't have been done.
I'll tell you what, I see a lot of bloodshed and I see a lot of violence coming. Whether Trump wins or loses, it's coming. Like, people are going to be holding the media accountable. Like CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, all these talking heads who have betrayed the American people, I fear for their well-being, because I think that there are going to be some people out there who feel like the American people were misled and that this election was stolen from them or was never straight up and fair. Mm-hmm. No. And we need to do whatever we can to stop that, because I don't know how we come back from that. I don't know how our Second Amendment survives it. I don't know how we as people can do that. I keep hoping that, something happens and we all get back on the same team again. But COVID didn't do that. COVID divided us more than ever. Now
in the beginning, there was like, oh, this might pull us together, and then it immediately got political.
No, but then it was,
of course, it was played politically, but in the beginning, it was like, maybe everyone's singing "Kumbaya" from their little porches and whatever. But
you think the president maybe almost dying from COVID might have been something? Nope. You think any of this other stuff? I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm afraid it's going to be a lot of dead people, and then we'll be like, oh, both sides need to calm down. That big bull side when it's 95% of it's coming from the left.
Yeah. I just think the cynic in me, people are like, 2020 is the worst, can't wait for it to be over. It's like, I think we're going to get to 2021 and be like, come back 2020.
Yeah, I think it's going to be nothing but worse.
It's when, right now things are hypotheticals. 2021, it's going to be the real deal.
Yeah, because this year was the year floated. This was the year that the government stepped in and you didn't have to pay your mortgage and you didn't have to pay your car loans and you didn't have to do all this stuff. They did the right thing. I agree with all that stuff and I am appreciative for that. We're still here for that. And that is something that I am very thankful for. But there is a bill for that.
Yeah.
It is coming. And, I've got moms and family members who are like complaining about schools and this and that, and they're going to vote Democrat. Who do you think is keeping the schools closed right now, everyone? It's the Democrats. They have to make you as miserable as possible in order to try to get you to blame that on Trump. That is what's happening. That 100%, that is what's happening. This is all a goal for the divisiveness to make every American's life so unreasonable and so miserable and so hard that you'll do anything to try something different outside of
God
Trump.
forbid that Trump said or indicated that you shouldn't be scared of COVID.
Yeah. Holy smokes, what about we've had
all of
nothing
the
to fear but
talking
fear
points
itself?
that came after being like, of course you should be afraid. You should be very, very afraid.
Run around with your head on fire. I mean, that was the news media.
Yeah.
Every single talking head was screaming for fear. Could they hear themselves?
Yeah.
What about we have nothing to fear but fear itself? We freaking fought Nazi Germany. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole world was going to, rush the imminent nuclear war. The Bay of Pigs, catastrophe after catastrophe after war, 2 world wars, and now maybe a third on the way. I mean, fear does nothing for anyone.
Yeah. I mean, of course, the whole Trump COVID thing, everyone got their talking points in and about how he tried to come out with strength and encouragement and all that. And
if Obama did that, they would be kissing his feet and saying, what a courageous leader leading from the front.
No, but instead it was privilege that he had access to those drugs that no one else can afford.
Trump said he's making them all free.
Yeah, well,
and again, oh my God, Trump's making stuff free that'll save lives. It's disgusting. And if you can't see through it,
then of course,
if you can't see through it, then there's nothing anyone can do.
If Trump said it works, we'll never take it.
Yeah, that's thanks for turning the whole world anti-vaxxer. Democrat Party. Democrat Party, who was the vaccination party, and conservatives were the anti-vaxxers. And now
they've stepped back from it a little bit by saying that if the scientists say that it's okay, then
Trump has not done one thing that Anthony Fauci hasn't told him to do.
Yeah.
He didn't just make shit up as he's going. He's doing it, and again, sorry for my language there. But again, he's doing what he's being told to do by the scientists. He's following the science.
Yeah.
I saw a really interesting stat that Sarah Huckabee Sanders put out. I want to read this to you guys, and I hope I can find it on my phone. On some stats that put the death, like this, explain this to me. Death toll in 2018, 2,835,205. 2019, 2,855,000. 2020, 2,033,736. That's through September 24th. We are shy over 800,000 deaths.
Yeah, I mean, I think
with COVID.
I want to see the breakdown of cancer death, suicide, how obviously I think that, car accident deaths, I'm sure, are way down because people weren't going anywhere. And, so the factors of the fallout or the benefits of people not going anywhere. But then you have the other kind of deaths that did happen because people weren't getting treatment. So I I guess I thought that the numbers would come out in the wash, or I don't know, maybe over under, but that the reasons of the deaths would be different this year versus other years. Medical
I think
accident.
It's going to take 5 years to sort through the math, if we ever get it. And I think we're going to find out it was all overblown.
Yeah.
I mean, that the flu killed people. Like, people died from flu, people died of pneumonia, people died of COVID, people died of suicide, people died of drug overdose. There's going to be this trade-off, like you said, the commuter crimes and all those things, or commuter deaths and all those things, but cancer in 3 years that we would have caught.
Yeah.
And heart disease and all the other things that are out there. And it's just, I think that the cure for this disease is 100 times worse than the disease. I think destroying the world economy and making everyone poor, all so that the Democrats don't go to jail. That's what's going on right now.
Well, and I think, obviously we've significantly changed our tune over the last couple of months. When this was first coming from China, and it seemed like China was absolutely like falling apart with the videos and information coming out of there, the social isolation and the lockdown stuff and all of that seemed more justified when it seemed catastrophic.
Yep.
And I think people are stuck there and not willing to kind of step back and look at the data differently.
Well, we, back in the first 2 weeks of January, were saying that this looks awful, treat it like it's the worst thing imaginable, and go out, buy your mask, buy everything, get ready to do this, hunker down for 90 days in your house. I was all for shutting the whole country down for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, right? Let's starve this disease out. Everyone
Remember when we thought that,
weeks.
oh my goodness, we're going to have to stay home for 14 days?
Yeah, and, but I knew at the same time that America doesn't have the intestinal fortitude to deal with something like that, right? So,
well, and I think too, we've learned more. The herd immunity thing is legitimate, and we are eliminating that from being able to happen by not having kids go to school, and college kids and young professionals going to the work environment where they, with very little risk, fatal risk, could expand that overall herd immunity. I think the part that we don't know are for people who get it and survive, or even seem to not have many symptoms, are there different longer term effects on their body, their lungs, their, what have you, that we don't know yet? That it's not the same as the flu, that, yeah, you get it, no problem, you move on. Because we know that people who've had it, or at least had more serious cases, they seem to have some residual damage. So that's the difference that we still don't know.
Right,
but
and
as
that's
far
what
as
I
kids
think
go,
that
it doesn't
Regeneron
seem.
And all the things that Trump's saying is what it does is the thing that gets damaged. And again, I'm not a doctor, whatever, but from my understanding of it is your body attacking itself is what causes
The
that
heightened
problem.
inflammation.
Yeah.
I mean,
So the Regeneron and the other drugs that they're doing now are preventing your body from doing that.
The inflammatory
and that's
response.
why you're not having the damage the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's above my pay grade and my knowledge of medicine, but I think Trump is one hell of a leader to do what he did. I think the way he spun this is right. Meaning, I can't ask people to bag groceries, and I can't ask mailmen and UPS drivers and cops and firemen and EMTs and doctors and nurses to go out there if I'm not willing to go out there.
yeah.
And I think that should have been something he should have been saying a lot sooner.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We talk about essential workers, which I think is a terrible term in itself, just for all of us poor non-essential workers. Like, where does that leave us? But I had never really thought about Trump. Obviously the president is an essential worker, but I never really thought of it in those terms. So I think that approach to it definitely is smart, and you can definitely say that extends to all of the people who support him. Secret Service agents those poor Secret Service who had to be trapped in that car with him.
Whatever.
Oh my goodness.
And to take a bullet.
And then he was exposing all of the housekeepers when he walked in and took his mask off. And
never mind the hypocrisy of Cuomo, who was out there with COVID, riding his bike in the neighborhood, busted.
Granted, that was outdoors, and I think anyone now would say, okay, outdoors,
Trump took his mask off outdoors.
I understand that too, but then he walked inside. But
well, Chris Cuomo was walking around his house.
His house.
The White House is Trump's house.
Yeah.
Right? That's where he freaking lives. That's his house. Right? Cuomo was walking around his place doing all of his. I mean, it's just still their hypocrisy knows no bounds. To steal a Doc Holliday line from Tombstone, it's just disgusting. But next,
I think we should wrap it up.
All right, we'll wrap it up then. Anyways, God bless you guys. God bless your families. God bless America. May He keep you guys safe. May He protect our troops overseas, our first responders at home, and our president. May He give our president the wisdom and the charisma to lead us through this extremely challenging time. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.